Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Number to call if you want to join the program on Free for All Friday, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. I want to talk about this Hurricane Sandy stuff and the debacle that thing is turning into here. We'll do that in just a second. We want to finish up on the Benghazi thing. I've got one more soundbite here. This is Rand Paul talking about the Benghazi thing. He's on with Dennis Miller, Senator Rand Paul, one of the really, really good guys in the Senate. This guy's walking in lockstep with us on all the values issues. Let's listen to what he had to say to Dennis Miller about what aggravates him about this Benghazi situation.
Well, the thing is I've been asking around the country, where were the Marines? I'm not talking about after the firefight. I'm talking about before the firefight. I'm talking about who made the decision to put an ambassador in probably one of the most dangerous countries in the world and not have any uniformed Marines. I mean, to have more uniformed Marines in Paris than you have in Libya, somebody should be fired for that. And this is above and beyond what happened once the firefight started, which obviously is a big problem. Once the firefight starts and people call for help, why wasn't help sent?
So that's a good question. I think that's a question on everybody's lips. And I think Hillary Clinton is the one that had to send Ambassador Stevens to Benghazi. She's in charge of all that State Department. And now we're finding out. I just want to go over with you, and then we're going to move on. But I want to go over with you the bombshells now that have just kind of been detonated just in the last several days. I mentioned before the break this report that Fox News is filing that, you remember the White House was saying for more than a week after this thing happened, look, there was no evidence that the sacking of this consulate was anything more than a movie review gone awry. This was just a spontaneous, they were saying that for a week. Well, they knew, now we know that they knew within 24 hours that it was a terrorist attack. They knew within 2 hours that an al-Qaeda group, a Muslim terrorist group, had claimed credit for this attack. They knew that it was a coordinated military-style attack. They knew that there was no evidence of any kind of mob presence outside the consulates. They were just lying through their teeth. And now we're finding out this morning, according to Fox News, that there were cables from the consulate that made it clear that they expected an attack from local militia groups in the hours before the attack actually took place. In other words, they notified the State Department 3 hours before the attacks began that there was radical Islamist activity in the city, that they were, quote, gathering weapons and gathering steam. And they were sending an alert out, a warning out about the fact that the consulate security was not strong and was in danger of being compromised. So the State Department had at least 3 hours of notice that things could get pretty ugly. And I think clearly what's happening now is the White House is trying to shift all the blame to the State Department. And we know that the State Department did not send any requests for military backup. That's on Hillary Clinton. But do not forget, you have these rapid deployment forces in Signorella in Sicily, I believe it is, or in Italy, less than 2 hours away by plane. They're there. They're ready to go. You've got aerial assets. You've got ships in the Mediterranean. But they cannot enter Libyan airspace or Libyan territory without the authorization from the commander-in-chief. That's what we've got to get back to. That's what we've got to remember. If he doesn't issue the order, there is nothing that our troops can do. They cannot do this on their own. Carter Ham, remember, he was the guy that was mobilizing resources. He was getting the troops in place, ready to go. He was told to stand down, don't send them, because the only one that can make that happen is the president. If the president of the United States doesn't say, you guys go in and save them, they can't go because they are violating another nation's sovereign space, and we should not do that without authorization from the commander-in-chief. You can't have some kind of renegade cowboy jet fighter pilot going off there starting a world war by going into somebody else's sovereign territory. It doesn't mean we need to wait for permission. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the commander-in-chief should be able to do it, and he did that with bin Laden. That was cross-border authority. Obama did not ask for permission from the Pakistanis. He just sent the Navy SEAL Team 6 in there to take bin Laden out. That's cross-border authority. The President of the United States, the only one that can authorize that, which means if he doesn't authorize it, it cannot happen, which means this has got to go back to the desk of the Commander-in-Chief. Now, he's trying to lay all this off on Hillary Clinton, but he cannot do that. He knew within minutes that this attack had happened. He knew within the first hour some of the details about this attack. He's the only one that could have sent assets from outside Libya to that consulate. He's the only one that could have done it. The fact that they were not sent in there, there's only one person that can answer for that, and that is the President of the United States. So this is, he's going to try to shuffle this off to Hillary. Bill Clinton's out there trying to stick a shiv in Barack Obama. I'm the only one in America that is more enthused about Barack Obama than they were 4 years ago. Now, let me just run through the list here of the bombshells that have gone off here. This is a good piece by Guy Benson on townhall.com. We know that secret cables were sent from the consulate a month before, in August, saying, look, the consulate in Benghazi is extremely susceptible to a coordinated attack. There are 10 Islamist militias operating in the city. There were repeated requests to bulk up the security that were denied. So that is one bombshell. And I mean, the secret cable back in August was very clear. The cable said, we cannot sustain an attack. The militias are everywhere. Al-Qaeda was here. That's what it says. That's a quote. This is August 16. No help was sent. The security was not beefed up. Now it turns out, here's another bombshell, 6 weeks after the assault, and this is after the FBI had gone into the consulate and picked through the wreckage. Remember that diary of Ambassador Stevens? That was recovered by journalists. They found it, 3 weeks or something like that after the attack. Now some journalists from Foreign Policy magazine, 6 weeks after this thing, after the FBI had gone in there supposedly and secured that scene and collected all the evidence, they found documents that were dated back to September 11 that weren't picked up by the FBI, that were just laying there in the consulate. They found them in the debris there that indicated that the diplomatic corps were deeply concerned about their own personal safety, and they were distressed over the lack of security. This was from October 26 now, Foreign Policy, October 26. They were in there to prepare a story for a television network in Dubai, and they found Ambassador Stevens' personal copy of the August 6 New Yorker lying on remnants of the bed in the safe room where Stevens spent his final hours, but several ash-strewn documents beneath rubble in the looted Tactical Operations Center. 2 unsigned draft letters dated September 11 expressed strong fears about the security situation at the compound. They indicate that Stevens and his team had officially requested additional security at the Benghazi compound and that they apparently did not feel it was being provided. They also reported on September 11 that there was a Libyan police officer, or a guy dressed in a police uniform, who was surveilling the consulate from across the street, from the roof of a building across the street. A person was photographing the inside of the U.S. Special Mission, and that this person was part of the police unit that was sent to protect the mission. So this strongly indicates that there was Libyan complicity in the compromise of the security. You got a guy out there taking surveillance photos the afternoon of the attack, and they're complaining about the absence of security, only an occasional police presence at our main gate. Many hours pass when we have no police support at all. Then we discover the State Department made the decision not to ask for military backup during the raid. So didn't happen. The State Department didn't request it. The president's the only one that can send it in, but it wasn't even requested. And so you got other, you've got this deal where the president did not convene the counterterrorism security group. Again, this is from CBS News. Quote, the CSG is the one group that's supposed to know what resources every agency has. They know of multiple options, have the ability to coordinate counterterrorism assets across all agencies. They were not allowed to do their job. They were not called upon. So in other words, bottom line is the more you know about this situation, the worse things get. Well, let's 888-589-8840 number to call if you want to join the program, 888-589-8840. Let's grab some clips on Hurricane Sandy. Why don't we drop down to clip number 8? One of the huge problems you've got right now with Hurricane Sandy is that Mayor Bloomberg is going to run the New York Marathon on Monday, and they're diverting generators. I'm looking at a picture here. I'm looking at a story. It's got a picture of 2 giant generators parked on the street. These are generators that could provide power for 400 homes, and there's 3 of them there. They could power 1,200 homes, and these generators have been diverted to Manhattan to run the New York Marathon. And the people in Staten Island, they don't have bathrooms to use. The plumbing is out, so they're having to go to the bathroom wherever they can. They've got no homes. They've got no power. They've got no food. They're dumpster diving. And Mayor Bloomberg is diverting food trucks and other supplies to the New York Marathon. Here is the report from NBC on the Staten Island situation, clip 8. Let's listen.
The anger is building in New York tonight. Anger, as you saw, over the fact that the city thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and host the New York City Marathon this weekend, despite power outages and standing water.
Staten Island was the bullseye of the storm. FEMA's not here. They're in New Jersey. They're in Breezy Point. They're everywhere. They're not on Staten Island. Every single person on this block lost everything.
How many people have died on this block?
You know how many people died on this block? I haven't seen it on the news. They're pulling bodies out.
So they got a huge. That's Brian Williams saying, look, they got a monster problem here, and here is what's going on in Staten Island, and food trucks. NBC's doing some big fundraiser. They're diverting generators because there's going to be some outdoor presence for the red carpet and all that kind of stuff. There's food assets. There's power assets that are being diverted to these celebrities. So they can all come in and look like they're saving the day. Here's what's going on in Staten Island. 19 dead in Hurricane Sandy, half the death toll of all New York City. Garbage is piling up. A stench hangs in the air. Mud-caked mattresses and couches line the streets. Residents are sifting through the remains of their homes, searching for anything that can be salvaged. We have hundreds of people in shelters. Many of them, the shelters closed. They have nowhere to go because their homes have been destroyed. Focal Point, AFR Talk.